let's head on out to Chicago for a Cowboys Bears preview with Brad Biggs. Been covering the Bears since 2001 on the beat for the Chicago Tribune. You can also hear him on 670 The Score, joining Shan and RJ on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Good morning, Brad. How are you?
Morning, guys. What's going on?
How much early panic and freak out there in Chicago with this 0-2 start?
I think the only people that are freaked out are the ones that invested entirely too much time in buying into the hype and hope of the offseason. New head coach, first year. I think it's reasonable to expect an adjustment period, that's going to take some time. Like, this was a 5-win football team last year. It should have had more than 5 wins, but Ben Johnson didn't inherit a turnkey roster here, guys. So anyone that's been kind of looking at it objectively understands where they're at. Now, disappointment in the way they got to 0-2, sure, that's fair game. They absolutely collapsed in the fourth quarter of the Week 1 Monday night game against the Minnesota Vikings, as J.J. McCarthy in his first start scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that game, and then they got steamrolled in Detroit last week. So the Bears defense, guys, 2 for 2 in their role for the NFC Offensive Player of the Week so far. J.J. McCarthy and Jared Goff. So, Dak Prescott, C.D. Lamb, who's next?
What are the issues defensively?
Well, they can't rush the passer, and they're without their top cornerback, one of the better corners in the league, and Jalen Johnson. So when you can't mesh a pass rush with coverage on the back end, it's going to be a long day. They've just been getting hit with big plays all over the place. The sample size is far too small for us to draw any sweeping conclusions from, but they're third in the league in defense on third down right now. But it doesn't really matter because they've hardly had any third downs because the opponents have been going first down, or first down, second down, first down. They've been bypassing third down.
They've been bypassing third down.
Yeah, so,
they chose to bypass third down.
Right. So it's been a little bit of everything. Obviously, that Lions defense is very talented. It kind of got into a little bit of a shootout, and the Bears didn't have the weaponry for that kind of ball game.
Brad Biggs, behind enemy lines, Bears columnist, join us here on 105.3 The Fan. So when Ben Johnson was talking about practice habits and he was talking about, hey, we'll be good in December, like, is he more referring to Caleb? Is he more referring to the defense or the team as a whole? Which one?
Oh, I think his comments were sort of overarching in terms of practice habits, and that's been there's been a witch hunt around here. Like, well, who's he calling out? And I think he's probably looking at this from a much broader perspective, that they haven't been as fundamentally sound as they need to be against especially against a competitive team like the Lions. Now, Minnesota Week 1, there's just too many missed assignments. And when you've got elite players, sometimes they can erase some of that stuff. But you just, to consistently have an opportunity to win, they've got to be better across the board. I think it's kind of a fruitless exercise to try to figure out exactly who he's talking about. And logically, the quarterback should be the quarterback should be better at the midpoint of the season than he is in the first 2 or 3 ball games anyway, and you ought to see growth over the course of a full season. This would be Caleb Williams' 20th start Sunday afternoon, and they're going to need to get more out of him. Like, it hasn't been good enough when you look at it and you say, hey, yep, there's a quarterback that went number 1 overall. That's another issue that they have going on right now. Certainly not their biggest issue with the brand of defense that they're playing, but an issue and a huge one when you consider long-term implications.
Yeah, this Caleb thing is just a fascinating, never-ending national topic. Just kind of wrap it all up for us, Brad. Where do you stand on him? Is his temperament okay? I know there was this dyslexia article that came out. Is he processing the way that Ben Johnson wants for his offense? Do they respect him inside the locker room? How is he behind the scenes? All the above with Caleb Williams, if you could take us through it.
Yeah, guys, he's got the magnifying glass on him, right? And he's had that since he was at USC anyway. Like, he's a guy who, when he was drafted by the Bears, I think he talked to scouts, and there were strong opinions on him. You either really liked him or you didn't care for him a whole lot. And he wasn't one of those guys where there were a lot of people in the middle, and he was thrown into a difficult situation last year with a struggling football team that didn't have a good offensive line. They had the wrong offensive coordinator. Like, it was if the Chicago Bears were, remember those books, the Choose Your Own Adventure, right? If the Chicago Bears 2024 season was a Choose Your Own Adventure, it was like, they made a right-hand turn, a left, a right, and then they were in a dark alley, and some guy had a crowbar waiting to hit him over the head with it. Like, it was, they just went, whatever choice they could make, they made the wrong one. Now, that's not saying that picking Caleb Williams was the wrong one. This is going to take some time to play out, and you have to have patience with young quarterbacks. But for Caleb to be viewed in a light like, say, Jaden Daniels is right now, there's a lot of ground for Caleb to cover and for the franchise as a whole to cover. But they've done a lot to try to support him. They brought in an entirely new interior of the offensive line, spent a lot of money. He's got a ton of talent at the skill positions. Ben Johnson was probably the hottest candidate in the cycle this year, right? They got him.
Yep.
So let's see how this plays out. Expecting results, understanding what you should be able to get out of the number one pick, but also realizing that some patience along the way is going to be required.
Brad Biggs from the Chicago Tribune joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. What are your early impressions of Ben Johnson, from the X's and O's genius that everyone thought he was, to temperament, to his leadership? What do you think of Johnson so far?
He's been pretty steady so far. And he's real big and a stickler on details. Just like, we are going to take this thing down to the studs. We're gonna get to the very basics here, and we're not going to cut any corners in installing our offense and making sure that there's a complete understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Like, the players appreciate the why part, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, coach, you're asking me to do this. Why? Well, here are the three reasons why. And, I think the players have embraced that, but they've got to see results. Like, this is a team that's struggled for a long time, guys. Like, the Bears last won a playoff game after the 2010 season. They reached the NFC championship game. And since then, since the start of the 2011 season, this is an outfit that's 30 games under 500 in the division. You know how long it's going to take for them to somehow get to 500 in the division? Like, they only play 6 of them a year, and they're 30 under in that span.
Have you gotten a handle on, because, Detroit, they were aggressive, fourth down, have you got a handle on how Ben is in that regard?
Got foot on the gas. Yeah, if the Bears have got the ball on the plus side of the 50 Sunday, as long as the game situation isn't something, totally, like, if they've got a big lead and it's 4th and 14, yeah, they'll probably kick it, right? But he's going to have his foot on the gas, and they've had a shoot up in Detroit last week. They were on about their own 38 or so. They were inside their own 40, 3rd and 1, quarterback sneak, no gain, 4th and 1, quarterback sneak, turnover on downs. So they will be aggressive. You know, when Ben Johnson was a very young assistant coach on Joe Philbin's staff in Miami, he asked Philbin in the offseason one year, and he was young. I mean, this guy was in his 20s, but he's got a computer programming background, like he's very mathematically inclined. So super, super smart that way. Asked Joe Philbin, hey, can I do a study on 4th down, go for it, kick, just probabilities from the math standpoint? And Philbin's like, yeah, knock yourself out. So Johnson spends some time. He puts together this study, this report, and eventually is able to present it in front of the entire staff. So he's in front of, some guys that have probably worked in the NFL for 20, 30 years, like super experienced coaches, which is that could be an intimidating position for a real young assistant coach. And he's like, here's the math behind it. Here's the probabilities behind it. Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, was an assistant on the staff at that time. He told me it was super impressive. It took balls to do that, right? To step out in front of these guys that have been coaching forever. Philbin didn't necessarily become some super aggressive coach. Like, he's kind of a buttoned up guy. It's not like the Dolphins the next year were fast and loose on 4th down, but another assistant that was on that staff at the time was Dan Campbell, and we certainly know he's been very aggressive on 4th down. So maybe Dan took notes during the presentation.
Bears reporter Brad Biggs joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Brad, obviously Matt Eberflus returning to town as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Your thoughts on any level of motivation that may exist for the Bears this week to beat Matt Eberflus, and your thoughts on Matt Eberflus specifically as a defensive coach?
Yeah, I think Matt Eberflus is a fine defensive coach. I think he's had a lot of success. I think he was patient and waiting for his opportunity to become a coordinator, spending that time in Dallas as a position coach. The big seat, the head coaching job, might not have been the perfect fit for him. In terms of motivation here, I don't sense anything extra from the players. I talked to a couple guys in the locker room yesterday. They want to get a win, right? They want to show their coach that they can practice hard enough to produce a win on a Sunday. Like, they're not really giving a whole lot of thought to Eberflus and the time here that he had and their experience with him. Matt's shorthanded right now, right? I mean, the Parsons trade, you look at some of the injuries that have hit that defense, and it's gonna be challenging. He's got a couple of assistants that were with him here in Chicago. Dave Borgonzi, the linebackers coach, I thought did a nice job here. So there'll be some familiar faces, and I'm sure the players will enjoy the opportunity to at least say hi quickly to a couple former coaches. David Overstreet, the cornerbacks coach for the Cowboys, he was a Nichols coach here, good guy. So that'll be interesting from a human perspective, but you got two teams playing really bad defense and trying to get a win.
You have a feeling who wins?
That's hard. I want to see the injury report a little bit later on. It's been a long time since the Bears have won a game that you would, kind of categorize as a shootout, right? They haven't been built to be competitive or have the experience in those games. But like, for a purist who likes defensive football, like, find something else to do late Sunday afternoon. Like, this is not going to be their kind of football. Like, I could see quick drives up and down the field all day long. Certainly, if edge to the Cowboys in terms of the more established, experienced, and at times highly successful quarterback in Dak Prescott. I'll tell you what, Ben Johnson spoke very highly of Prescott yesterday, and I mean, the way things are out here now, guys, every time the coach says something, people try to interpret it. Well, is that him being jealous of how good Prescott is at this, and he really wants Caleb to be that? I'm like, well, or it could just be, you know what, he's been around the game for a while, and he's got a level of appreciation for a guy who was, runner-up in the MVP voting just 2 years ago.
Brad, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game on Sunday and the season.
Have a great day, guys.
Brad Biggs from Chicago, the Tribune, and the Score on the D&M Leasing Hotline.